What's up, guys? It's Vic here with Strikers Reptiles. We haven't filmed a video in a good minute. It's not because of a lack of events going on here at Strikers Reptiles. Rather the opposite. This has been an incredibly busy summer for us. Right now I'm just at the park here with Jane Wick. It's been well over 100 degrees with the heat index every day here in Tampa. So I'm taking her out. It's about 7:30 in the evening. Just taking her out for some exercise. It's been a couple days. Normally I like to get her out earlier in the day so she can get that natural UVB. However, this video has nothing to do with Jane Wick. I just happen to be filming it while we're at the park. This video is all about our first and successful attempt at breeding ball pythons. So guys, this is not meant to function as a how-to guide for breeding ball pythons. If you are looking for a how-to guide on how to breed ball pythons, there are a lot of great YouTubers out there. The number one guy for me was always Gavin at Balls to You. Watched a ton of his videos before I even thought about breeding ball pythons. And then also another guy who's extremely educated and gives great information is Chris Hardwick, who actually just subscribed to my channel. What's up, Chris, if you're watching this? Appreciate you checking me out. So yeah, but anyway, this is not going to be a breakdown of how to breed ball pythons. There are a lot of people out there who will breed ball pythons once, or not even breed ball pythons once, and they'll go make a YouTube channel, YouTube video on how to breed ball pythons. That's not my style. When I bring information on exactly how to breed ball pythons, it's going to be because I've done it successfully many times. However, what I do want to give is a little insight into my single experience breeding ball pythons, because it is now looking like it's going to work out. So I'm just hoping to provide a little insight to people who are breeding for the first time, or maybe thinking about breeding for the first time. I feel that I can provide, a little insight as somebody who's got one clutch as opposed to somebody who's got 100 clutches. So first thing that I did, obviously, was acquire a male and female ball python. They can reproduce via parthenogenesis, which is when a female, I believe that's the term, when a female produces eggs, fertile eggs, even in the absence of a male. But that's completely luck, the only reasonable way. Obviously, you need a male and a female. So most people say your male needs to be 6 to 12 months and your female needs to be 24 to 36 months. I can't really speak to that subject because I had my ball pythons as pets for a long time before I ever bred them. So my male was about 3 years and our female was close to 6 years. So whether they were of breeding age or maturity is obviously no question. So I can't really give any insight on that part of breeding. However, what I basically did was I, kept my female normal. A lot of people go through a cooling process. I didn't. I left her hot spot at about 90 degrees. I upped the humidity to increase the smell in her enclosure, essentially, and I introduced the male. That was October of last year. Lo and behold, they actually locked nearly immediately, stayed locked for a full day, took the male out, and a month later we did the same thing. Now, essentially, that's all we did between October and April. I believe it was April. October to April, all we did was put them together. They locked every time. They had great chemistry, I guess. One thing we did notice as soon as we began pairing them is that our female's appetite went through the roof. She actually was our last snake to hold out on converting to frozen thawed prey. She only, for the most part, only wanted live prey. That all changed as soon as we began pairing her. Live, frozen, mouse, rat, African soft-furred rat. She would eat every time she was offered food, regardless of the circumstances. So I began feeding her every 7 to 10 days. Before that, I was feeding her more like every 2 weeks. We made sure she got meals every 7 to 10 days during the breeding process so that she could build her follicles. Around March, she actually started to lose interest in food. She started taking meals no larger than a large African soft-furred rat or a small rat. At this point, we knew that her follicles were building to the point that they were sort of, filling her up, and she didn't have room for a large meal. She actually had grown from 2,500 to 4,000 grams in this process. So we knew that things were going well. It was just taking quite a while. Now, in the beginning of April, she actually went off of food altogether, completely lost interest, turned her nose up at everything we showed her. 31 days later, she looked like she had swallowed a football in her lower half. That's what's known as an ovulation. So once we knew she ovulated, we knew that she would soon become gravid, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to say, you know what, it was 19 days later that she actually went into a shed. Now this is called a pre-lay shed. At that point, we knew that we were approximately 30 days from eggs. And this, I just knew that from research that I had done in the past. So we watched her carefully, and sure enough, 34 days later, 34 days after her last shed, she laid 12 perfect eggs. All we did after was pull her off of the eggs. As soon as we were pretty sure she was done laying them, we did keep an eye on her, and we tried to pull her off quickly because they say it's better to take a female off her eggs when she's tired as opposed to giving her time to rest, and then she's going to be defensively protecting her eggs. So we took her off the eggs as soon as we were pretty sure she was done. She had already laid 12. We couldn't see how there could possibly be any more in her. But just to be careful, we ran our hands along her lower half and sort of palpated with our fingers to check for any more eggs. No lumps, she was doing great. The next thing we did was go ahead and wash her off and put her into a fresh enclosure. The point of this is to get the smell of her eggs off of her, because most females won't eat while they have the smell of eggs on them. We took the eggs, we set them in our incubator, a very simple Hovabator or Reptibator, which I'll be doing a review on at some point. And we set the temperature to 89 degrees, had the eggs in plastic tubs, and we set them to incubate. From that point, we checked the eggs once a week, and now, 59 days after our eggs were laid, we are getting babies. So we are actually going to break down our incubation process in just a moment, as well as show you guys the new hatchlings and the babies that are still coming out. So if you guys are enjoying this content up until this point, please consider subscribing. We're going to be doing updates on these babies as we get them eating and they go through their first shed. So there's tons more information to come out if you're into this kind of subject. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's check out these eggs. I am going to give a quick spoiler before I open the tub. Our male, Pennywise, is a clown ball python, and our female, who is the mother of these eggs, William Snakespeare. We named her before we knew her sex. But William Snakespeare is a normal type ball python, or a classic type ball python. And being that clown is a recessive gene, these snakes are all going to carry the classic or wild type for their coloration and pattern. So they're all going to look the same. There wasn't really any suspense on the odds for this clutch, but still, it's incredible to have hatched our first clutch of ball pythons. So here they are. We had 12 eggs in there. I've been taking out the shells as they come out of them all together, just to make sure that there's enough space. They say that you want to leave the already hatched out babies in there for a bit to let them finish absorbing their egg yolk, as well as some say that the motion of the hatchling ball pythons will actually stimulate the ones that are still in their eggs to come out. So as you guys may have noticed, there are some decent sized slits in these eggs, and that is because we used a policy that many breeders favor, which is called one pip then clip. So basically what that means is as soon as one ball python pips or sticks its head through the egg, we go ahead and clip the rest of the eggshells to check on the baby ball pythons and make sure that there are no complications and everybody may exit their eggs freely. Now there are some people who can argue this subject about whether you should cut or not cut until they're blue in the face. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I just did what made the most sense to me. And now, 59 days after the laying, we have several babies that are out. They started to pip on day 57. Most people say anytime between 55 and 65 days is when you'll see your baby starting to come out. But guys, we have 12 of these. Obviously, we're not planning to keep all of them. We might keep a female. However, I am in the process of setting up a morph market page, so these will be available after they've had a few good meals. That's an important thing to note, is that an ethical breeder will make sure that their ball pythons have eaten a few times and are eating consistently before selling them. So these guys still have a few weeks to anywhere from maybe 3 weeks to 2 months until they're ready to go to their forever homes. If you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would definitely be willing to throw you a discount. As far as our incubation technique, I have this sort of light dispersing grid that I got from Home Depot, which I set under the eggs but above the vermiculite, which is the substrate you see below. We wet the vermiculite heavily and then set this grid in to keep the eggs from directly contacting the moisture, and what that does is prevent molding and oversaturation, which can be an issue if you allow the eggs to sit directly on the substrate. It worked out great for us. We did have a little bit of mold due to the very high humidity, but nothing that seems to have affected the health of our ball python hatchlings. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave us a thumbs up, and if you want to keep up to date on these hatchlings, whether you're interested in buying one or if you just want to see how they develop and grow, make sure you're subscribed and also hit that bell icon so you get a notification whenever we upload a new video. Thank you guys very much. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend.